All right, good morning, traders. Today is July 17th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room, which is the hit and run candlesticks, the day trading division for the hit and run candlesticks family. All right, let's take a look at some how I plan to trade SPY today. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Let's take this down. This is the 17th. Let's go. Hey, good morning, traders. My SPY pivot this morning, 622.65. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab 5 in daily uptrends. Still in daily uptrends. SPY, QQQ, FNGU, and IWM made lower lows and lower highs, closing over their traps over their 17 EMAs. Diamond Down made a lower low and a lower high, closing inside a bearish trap over the 17 EMA. SPY closed with almost a 2-hour uptrend. I mean, it's just crossing the line right now. And a 10-minute uptrend as well. Gold still in an uptrend. Gold made an outside day, which is a higher high and a lower low, closing over a bullish trap and over the 17 EMA. Silver made a lower low and a lower high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. USO in a daily uptrend. USO made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish trap and under the 17 EMA. UNG in a daily downtrend, not moving down, made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap and over its 17 EMA. Just want to say, I thought I read something on X that I don't know. I think maybe somebody over there in Europe. I think Trump made a gas deal with them, so we may be shipping gas back to Europe again. So we'll see what happens there. All right. So that might be the reason why gas isn't moving down. We'll see. All right. U.S. dollar index. Anyways, gas higher high, higher low, closing over a bullish trap and over the 17 EMA. U.S. dollar index in a downtrend, closed near the 98.35 area. SPY max paying 623 with a put to call ratio of about 1 1/3 puts to each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, those index options expire at 4:15, where the security options expire at 4 p.m. All right, let's go look at what got starred yesterday and what's still starred today. All right, starred yesterday, I thought we had 5. No, I was looking for, here it is, the 16th. Hold on just a second. Just a second here. There it is. If you don't hit it just right, it doesn't drag when you want it to. Okay, so 5 was starred. TNGX was starred. The movie channel, TMC. It's not the movie channel, by the way. EYE and UUU put in a really nice candle. We'll look at all of those right now before we drill down. And then we'll take a look at what we got started for today. I think it's just still these two right there. All right, first one we'll look at is FIV. Okay, so there's FIV on the daily chart. And you can see breaking out of the grinder box right there. Here's the launch pad, and you got liftoff. All right, so there's FIVE. That was flagged and starred yesterday. As you can see, that's the performance from yesterday. Little liftoff there. All right, and TNGX, another one. Again, you can see TNGX closing up over the red wick there. So TNGX has liftoff as well. All right, so TNGX got starred for a nice liftoff there. And the movie channel is taking up TMC. Of course, it's not the movie channel. It's the metals company. But anyways, you can see green candle breaking out here and still trying to break out. All right, so back up to these highs. All right, they got to get up over those highs up there. All right, so TMC kind of breaking out to test those highs right now, and the other one is EYE. And EYE also breaking out. See that? Didn't close up there, but you can see they're putting in some price action up there. There's the launch pad and indicating possible liftoff right there on EYE. All right, and those are the only ones. I'm pretty sure those are the only ones. Let's take one more peek just to make sure. 17, yeah, EYE and TMC. Oh, let's take a look at UUU. UUU was a nice one. There you go on UUU. Little continuation of the move from the day before. So UUU, nice breakout there. Came out 6 all the way up to $8 right there. All right, let's go look at some charts. Some other charts. Let's take a look at SPY. And we'll start with the 10-minute chart. You can see the 3 EMA is up on top of the 8, which is the white line. The 3 is the yellow line. So we got a 10-minute uptrend. Notice the 3 on top of the 8 EMA, on top of the 17 EMA, which is the green dots. All right, so we got a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP coming into the close. All right, so yesterday, what did we trade? We traded a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP, and then we had a reversal breaking the rubber band candle, and then we traded a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Look at the price action cutting away from VWAP here. Nice move. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. Again, 10-minute uptrend we traded into the close, and a 10-minute downtrend from the open. All right, we had instructions were to look for red candle, and of course we had red didn't quite erase green, but you could see price consolidating. This would be all of yesterday's consolidation right there. All right, and we consolidated underneath all of that right here. All right, so the idea was to stay bearish until you got the flush or the move lower. Okay, now they gave you a couple of wicks up there yesterday. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, let's talk about trade action. Okay, let's move this over. Now you can see here is the VWAP, the brown line. You have a 10-minute downtrend from the beginning of the day. You notice how it continues from the day before, and then it continues on all the way down into this. Okay, now they did give you a couple of scare the daylights out of you right here, where they had candles up over the brown VWAP line, but if you notice, no rubber band candle was broke up there. Okay, actually no rubber band candle was even created. All right, so even though it flared up like that, okay, you know, it's still in the trade because you're consolidating under prior consolidation. That's bearish. Whenever you consolidate over prior consolidation, that's bullish. So you can see we still stayed under it, okay, and we never. And remember, I said my stop was going to be 20 cents over high of day, way up here. Okay, so we never got tripped out, and then price flushed all the way down. Okay, so there's SPY on the 10-minute downtrend yesterday. All right, and then a 10-minute uptrend. So we got both sides. All right, so we're looking for this morning continuation of that 10-minute uptrend to the upside. Okay, so let's look at the game plan, but I like this 10-minute uptrend, a continuation. Now, I don't want any red candles because I'm looking for an uptrend. All right, so I don't want anything that shows me bearish control. All right, so I don't want a red candle. I don't want a topping wick candle. All right, something that's got way more wick than body and tail. Okay, so that's not my candle. All right, because that shows me bears controlling that 10-minute candle or the price during that 10-minute time frame. So I don't want a topping wick candle. I don't want a red candle. I don't want a doji, and I don't want a spinning top. Okay, so this is a doji right here, that little squat thing, and this would be like a spinning top. Okay, so I don't want a doji, and I don't want a spinning top. Reason, that shows me price is not going to move. Bulls and bears are satisfied with price exactly where it is. So I don't want a spinning top. I don't want a doji. I don't want a green candle that happens to have way more wick than body and tail. All right, I want a nice green candle. I don't want any red candles. So that's what I'm looking to buy for my 10-minute uptrend this morning. Or you could have, you could have green erases red right up over the top there. We'll see if you get that, and that should be up over 624.73 would be a green erases red entry up there. So that's 10 minutes. So that's the plan for this morning. All right. Let's take a look at the game plan. All right. Let's slide this over. And let's drag this down. All right. SPY game plan. All right. Pivot 622.65. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Okay. If we have a 10-minute downtrend below the pivot, all right, we have a red erases green entry underneath 620.90. Right here, underneath 620.90. We have a green erases red entry over 624.70. All right. And if I happen to get a 10-minute uptrend that manifests down here or originates down here, I'm not opposed to trading a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP down here, or sometimes moving back towards VWAP. All right, I'm not opposed to trading a 10-minute uptrend. All right, as long as it breaks a rubber band candle or it crosses the pivot. All right, so I'm looking for one of those two things. So I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. I especially like it like this when they're cutting away from VWAP. Notice the separation. See the air in between the trap, the trend, the candlesticks, and VWAP. All right, that's where I make my money, is in moves like that. Okay, so I like, for options, I like 1 day till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5. So 625, 630, 635. Okay, I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. All right, reason for that is they offer less risk. All right, but with less risk comes less performance. All right, so if you want the very best performing option, it's usually and mostly almost all the time it's going to be the in the money 0-day TE option. All right, but I choose to for less risk because I want more control over the outcome. All right, so I'll take a little bit less performance so I can attain less risk. All right, so for that reason I like 8 DTEs and $5 to $15 out of the money. That gives me time to fix that. All right, so there's the SPY game plan for this morning. Okay, got a nice bottoming valley right there. Hopefully we get some continuation with this 10-minute for a 10-minute uptrend. So there's SPY game plan. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ is not much different than SPY. All right, I like 1 DTE Friday options on the multiple of 5, or 8 days till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5. We have a green erases red entry over 557.75. We're already there. QQQ pivot 556.10. Above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. Red erases green entry underneath 554.30. Okay, that's the red erases green. Again, I'm not opposed to playing or trading 10-minute uptrends over VWAP that happen to originate down here long before we get to the green erases red entry. Okay, and I'm not opposed to trading 10-minute downtrends that may originate up here. Okay, long before we get to the red erases green entry, okay? As long as those 10-minute downtrends are under VWAP, prefer them to either break a rubber band candle or pass through the pivot. Either one could satisfy my needs to trade that 10-minute downtrend under VWAP, okay? So if it happens to originate here, again, willing to trade it down to that way, all right? So there's QQQ. Okay, back to SPY. We're going to drill down and look at the 2-hour chart, okay? We looked at the 10. Okay, the 10 had a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. On the 2-hour chart, all right, you can see we have a 2-hour cross right here. Okay, so 2-hour back into a daily uptrend, 2-hour uptrend going into the close. On the daily candle, thank you, Alan. Daily candle, you can see nice. See all that tail down there? That's bullish control right down there. Normally, that's bullish control. Not to say that they can't come all the way back down and revisit that. All right? But that usually indicates bullish control, okay? So here we got a lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap, over the rising 17. That's bullish. Look at them still holding the higher ground up here, okay? That's bullish. All right? If you look at it here with the quad lines on it, you can see we're at the top of quadrant 4, and we're up over, we're still in an uptrend doing higher lows and higher highs, okay? Top of quadrant 4, holding the higher ground. That's bullish whenever they hold that higher ground up there. Okay, see them at the top of quadrant 4, and in an uptrend, got higher lows and higher highs. Okay, so that's bullish and still in an uptrend, SPY. QQQ. All right, QQQ, same candle. Lower high, lower low, closing over the bullish trap. Again, moving up and holding that higher ground up there. Okay, got the move. All right, notice the move. Yeah, I didn't want the square. All right, move up and then hold the higher ground, just like SPY. Okay, that's bullish. All right, and if you look at it, you know, you're in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, so what do I like? I like, this is my favorite one, okay? I like a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. I like it when that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP is inside of a 2-hour uptrend. All right, so I got like all the time frames working with me. I got the daily. I want that 2-hour uptrend in a daily uptrend. And then I want the daily uptrend inside a weekly uptrend. And then I want the weekly uptrend inside a monthly uptrend. So nothing is working against me. All right? Because you could have a daily uptrend, but weekly's in a downtrend. Okay? Or you can have, you know, a daily uptrend, but the weekly and monthly are in a downtrend. Okay? Okay, but what I like, that's the ultimate setup for me. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, inside the 2-hour uptrend, inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend, and all of it over the all-time high or the prior all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? That's what I like. Those trends, that's like having all of the wind in your sails, and you can do nothing but move forward, okay? So there's QQQ, all right? Same thing. I like those 10-minute uptrends. That's bullish up there, consolidating at the top of quadrant 4. All right, let's take a look at IWM. Okay, IWM still in the upper third. That's bullish over the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, that's also bullish. Price action, higher lows, higher highs, still in an uptrend, and bullish for IWM. Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow up here, quadrant 4. Price action, holding the higher ground up there as bullish for yesterday's candle, lower high, lower low. Closing inside, bearish trap, but over the 17 EMA. That's bullish. Up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. Okay, and in an uptrend and moving up. Not quite moving up, but kind of moving over to the right, holding that higher ground. Okay, so that's bullish, Diamond Dow. FNGU. FNGU doing the right stuff. Okay, again, moving up. And look at the price candles. Hold the higher ground up there. That's bullish. All right, you can see price action in uptrends. You got lows right here. We got a higher low. We got some highs right here, and we got the higher high. Okay, so that's bullish on FNGU. Okay, now we watch FNGU because it's got 10 of the most heavily weighted securities in the SPY and the QQQ. All right, when those 10 move as a pack, they can drag those two indexes right along with them. All right, so you can see candle for yesterday, FNGU, lower high, lower low, but we closed over a bullish trap and over the 17 EMA, still holding the plank up there, holding that higher ground. FNGU bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, we'll take a look at some technicals. Start off with T2122, and we popped out of the sell zone. All right, we made came all the way down to the sell zone one more time before leaving the area. All right, and then from there we made our way back into the seller's chop zone, and then eventually into the buyer's chop zone. I would be looking to either chomp around inside the buyer's chop zone, and maybe by the end of the day, closer to the end of the day or after 2 o'clock, we come up here and make an appearance inside the buy zone again. All right, or we spend the rest of the day in the buyer's chop zone, consolidating over to the right. That's T22. That's what I'm expecting for today. That's the 15-minute chart for T2122. T2123. All right, you can see the price action here. Okay, it's in a downtrend still. All right, but look, price moves up. Let's get something a little thicker. Okay, price moves up and then holds that higher ground up there. That's bullish. Notice they get knocked out and they recover it quickly. Okay, price action, okay, up over that 200 SMA. That's bullish. Okay, they're in a downtrend right now currently because they got a low, they made a lower low. Now, if they take out that high, okay, they'll have an uptrend. All right, I wouldn't doubt it if they take out that high again today. All right, so we'll see what happens. Okay, you can see selling at the beginning of the day, and then you can see the candle stop and then kind of reverse and start heading back up again. Okay, so selling at the beginning of the day, buying after the 12 o'clock flush right there. T2123, that's the 15-minute chart. Okay, currently in a downtrend right there, but look, we're moving up. All right, so there's price action up over that rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. Okay, 3-bar chart, same product. 3 more green candle bars. All right, got a low. We're making higher lows. Got a high. We're making higher highs. That's an uptrend. T2123, and that's bullish. Look at price move up. Hold the higher ground up there. Okay, it's working well. Okay, just got to cut through some of this consolidation right over here. All right, got some consolidation right there. We got to cut through. If I drag that all the way over, you can see that's what we're dealing with right now, is all of this consolidation through here. So it's going to take us a little time to get through it, okay? It's going to take us more than couple of 4-hour candles to cut through all that consolidation, all right? So take us a little while. Once we cut through that, the only thing up above is the all-time high, and I'd say that's probably going to be breached after we cut through all of this consolidation over here to the left, okay? So that's what we're looking at on T2123, bullish and in an uptrend on T2123 3-bar. FNGU, let's take a look at that one on the 15-minute. All right, some little bit of selling at the beginning of the day, and then they kind of recovered and started knocking on the door of the flat 200 SMA there. You can see in the pre-market, they're back up on top of it. Nice work on FNGU. Hope they can hold on top of that. We'll see what happens, but you can see selling at the beginning, and then they bought it all back up at the near the end of the day to come back and start knocking on the door for the 200 SMA right there. Okay, all in all, you look at price action. Okay, it's doing some of the right stuff. Okay, right? It's a move up and over to the right. Okay, not a straight line, but hey, it's a sloppy hold. But heck, it's holding that higher ground. That's bullish. All right, anytime you're in the upper third of the last move, okay, that's bullish. Let's take a look. Here's quadrant lines, and you can see here's price action. These two green lines would represent the upper third, anything above that, and you can see prices holding in the upper third of the last move. That's bullish. Okay, so I'll take those off. Okay, that's FNGU. Let's take a look at a few sectors. And we'll start with XLE. All right, XLE got the habit of, yeah, guess what? Moving up and giving it up, okay? And moving down and giving it up. See, they move up, all right, over here. And see, they move up. And then they give it up. And they move down, and they also give it up, okay? See, they move down and give it up. And they move up again. See how we got on top of this all-time high anchored VWAP, the pink line, and we give it up, and they did it again. All right, so that makes them just neutral. All right, if you're in the upper third up here, okay, that's going to be bullish. If you're in the lower third down here, that's going to be bearish, okay? But we're spending our time right now, okay, in between those, so we're in the neutral zone right there. So we're in the neutral. It's just neutral, XLE, all right? And we are in an uptrend because we got a low. We're making higher lows. See this? Higher low, all right? Higher low. And we're making higher highs, okay? High, another higher high, higher high. Believe it or not, that one beats by a penny. That's also a higher high, okay? But we just have that problem of moving up and giving it up, okay? So uptrend. All right, still in an uptrend. It's looking good, just not ready yet. All right, when it gets up over that all-time high anchored VWAP, it'll be ready and probably make an attack on the upper third. Okay, so there's XLE, neutral and in an uptrend. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, another one of those moves down, okay, moves down and gives it up. See, it moves down and gives it up, and then it moves up and it gives it up as well, okay? That's why I say when you see price action like you got SPY, when it moves up and it holds that higher ground, that's bullish, all right? So you got another one, moves up and gives it up, makes it just neutral, okay? Again, they were up there in the upper third. You can see a couple days ago, this would be the upper third up here. That was bullish, so they were bullish, but notice they lost it. Okay, they're no longer in the upper third. Okay, so they're not in the upper third, they're not in the lower third, so they're just neutral and still in an uptrend. Okay, because they're making higher lows, higher low, okay, and higher highs. Here's a double top, higher high up there. Okay, so that's bullish, all right, but just neutral. If they can get up here over this all-time high anchored VWAP, I think that's a 3-year high anchored VWAP, you know, and maybe hold the higher ground up here in the upper third, they'll start getting bullish again, all right? Right now, just neutral and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG's in a downtrend, but not moving down recently, okay? So let's back out. You can see on UNG, we have a head and shoulders pattern, which may not work out. Okay, so there's our triple top head right up there. Okay, then we've got a double top right shoulder and a double top left shoulder. And we've got a broken neckline right through here. But prices come back to recapture the neckline, okay? We were in a downtrend, as you can see, making lower highs right here. And then we got a 4 bottom there, all right? These are the lower lows. Here's a low. 4 bottom low here. Well, we made a lower low. So we're in a downtrend, in a bearish head and shoulders pattern currently, okay? Just not moving down for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days we've moved up, or 5 days moved up. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. And over the 17, that's also considered bullish. All right. Still underneath this 18-month high anchored VWAP. and we're still in the lower third. So we're still bearish here, still bearish, and we're still in a downtrend. All right, just haven't been moving down this week. All right, so there's UNG. All right, maybe they take out this high. If they take that high out, they will negate the downtrend. All right, if they decapitate the head, they escape from the head and shoulders pattern. All right, so we'll see what happens. There's UNG currently in a downtrend, not moving down. All right, let's take a look at GLD. GLD in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. Obvious, you can see price has moved up and is holding the higher ground. Okay, see, up and over to the right. Okay, sloppy hold, but up there in quadrant 4, right here, quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, and in an uptrend because we're making higher lows. All right, and higher highs. See, here's a couple of lows right here. All right, and there's a higher low, and then there's a higher high right up there. Here's a high, there's a high, and you got the higher high right there. Okay, so price action up over prior all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish up there, holding that higher ground, and in an uptrend. Okay, price action candle outside day, closing. Look where the body closes, up over the bullish trap, over the 17, and over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. All right, GLD, bullish and in an uptrend. Silver. Now, silver made a 12-year high 3 days ago. Okay, that's a 12-year high right there. Yesterday's candle, lower high, lower low, but still closing over a bullish trap, over the rising 17, up at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, so that's bullish and in an uptrend. All right, higher lows, higher highs. Anytime you make a 12-year high, it's going to be bullish up there. Silver, bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look. Just cooling off, okay, after that breakout. Probably going to get some consolidation over prior consolidation, and then you might see a breakout to go attack the all-time high. Okay, so there's silver. Let's take a look at SMH. SMH, top of quadrant 4, over the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. That's bullish and in an uptrend. Obviously, look at the trajectory. That's an uptrend if you didn't know it. Okay, it's bullish and in an uptrend. XLK. Okay, is creating a launch pad, building a launch pad right now. Okay, that's bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, see the trajectory. All right, that's an uptrend. All right, holding the higher ground up there in quadrant 4. That's bullish, up over all-time high anchored prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Bullish and in an uptrend. XLF. XLF, bullish and in an uptrend, having a pullback at this moment, but still up in quadrant 4, consolidating over prior consolidation. That's bullish and in an uptrend. All right, if they take out this low, they will negate the uptrend and convert to downtrend. Still up over prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Bullish and in an uptrend. XLF. All right, and let's take a look at IYT. All right, IYT in the upper third, that's bullish. All right, and in an uptrend. Got some lows, got some higher lows, got some highs right here. Got a higher high. Up there in quadrant 4, all right, or in the upper third, that's bullish and in an uptrend, IYT. So you got, right now, you got transports in an uptrend. Financials, bullish and in an uptrend. There's just taking a breather right now. Semiconductors and technology sector, bullish and in an uptrend. You got small cap stocks and mid cap stocks. That's the IWM, aka the Russell 2000. All right, that is bullish and in an uptrend. You got the mega big cap stocks, bullish and in an uptrend. That's the FNGU. All right, you got SPY and QQQ making new all-time highs. All right, not yesterday, but just recently, yes. Okay, so price action is bullish, and we have the makings of a really robust rally. And then on top of all of that, okay, believe it or not, we've got a dollar in a downtrend, okay? So you look at this. This is a 3-year low right here. Dollar is in a downtrend. There was major support. This zone right through here, we broke major support, all right, which now becomes minor resistance. You can see the lower highs right here, the lower highs, all right, and then you can see the lower lows. See the low, lower low, lower low, okay, another lower high and a lower low. That's a downtrend, okay? Anytime the dollar's weak, that helps open up new markets for us, all right, because it makes our currency conversion a little easier on the pockets, all right? It doesn't cost them as much of their foreign currency to buy our products and services because the conversion rate will not be as rich. When we got a rich dollar, what happens is it costs them more money, all right, more of their currency to buy ours, and they tend not to buy our goods and services for that reason. So having a falling dollar helps open up our markets and broaden our global footprint, all right, in the global economy, all right. So falling dollar. Okay, we closed yesterday at I think it was about right here, yeah, 98.42 area. It's about the 98.42 area. So dollar in a downtrend. We like that. SPY max pain for today, all right, 623. That's for the options, the SPY options that expired today, with about 1 1/3 put for each call that expires today, okay? On the economic calendar, today we have jobless claims at 8:30, retail sales 8:30, Philly Fed manufacturing 8:30, import-export prices 8:30, business inventories at 10, housing market index at 10, gas report at 10:30, and then that's it, all right? Housing starts and permits tomorrow at 8:30, consumer sentiment at 10, and then a rig count at 1, all right? So Alan shared some jobless claims. Let me just say jobless claims. The consensus for jobless claims was 230,000 to 235,000. That's what they expected. Well, for jobless claims, that's 221 was the actual count. Unless it gets revised, it could get revised. 221,000. That's less than the consensus range. All right, that's very good. All right, that's a very good number. All right, so there's jobless claims. That's a good number. Retail sales, consensus range was negative 0.2 to 0.3. Okay, actual was 0.6. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it sounds good to me. All right, that's month over month retail sales. That looks like more sales than normal. I don't think they're measuring inflation on that, okay? As long as that's not measuring inflation, that looks like a pretty whopping good number there, okay? Ex-vehicle sales, month over month. Expected range was 0.1 to 0.5. We got a 0.5, so the high side of the range. Ex-vehicles and gas, month over month. 0.1 to 0.2. We're at 0.6. I don't know how that happened, but 0.6. Well, that's a whopping good number too. So really good data coming out today as far as retail sales and jobless claims. Both of them looking fantastic. Earnings reports. What do we got here for today's Thursday? Taiwan Semiconductor, I think maybe around 1:30 tonight or maybe 1:30 in the afternoon. 1.1 trillion or almost 1.2 trillion right there. Taiwan Semiconductors. They got a dash, so I'm not sure if they're going to report today. They may push it off till next week. Netflix reports tonight. That's $500 billion. Okay, for Netflix, they report tonight. GE Aerospace, $272 billion. They report this morning. Novartis, 239 billion. They report this morning. Abbott Labs, 229 billion. They report this morning. PepsiCo, 185 billion. They're going to report this morning. Marsh McLellan, 104 billion. They're going to report this morning. Okay, so again, we're kicking off earnings season again. All right, the big ones are coming up. You know, the Nvidia, the Microsoft, the Google, the Meta. All of those big boys are coming up soon. Here's one of them right here. Netflix is a big one. All right, just report. It's going to report tonight. That could move the markets. All right. So there we are with the earnings for tomorrow. 227 billion. American Express, HDFC still not sure when they want to report. Schwab, 169 billion. They report tomorrow morning. 3M, 84 billion. They report tomorrow morning. Okay, so a little financials, a little technology or retail, whatever you want to call that right there. Tomorrow morning. All right, so that's it. Don't know what's coming up next week. For some reason, I can't access it. I'll try. No, that's just more of that day. All right. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to render my video, try to get this out for everybody. I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes, actually 20 minutes, and we'll kick off the market. Again, we're looking for a green candle. All right, we're looking for a continuation of that SPY 10-minute uptrend. All right, that's what we're looking for this morning. All right, we're already up here. Looking like we're going to get it. 625.25, looking good. All right, in the pre-market. See that? All right, I'll see you guys in about 20 minutes.